Okay, we're going to go right into our superintendent finalist interview, and we have with us at this time Mr. Wayne Gent. And welcome to St. Lucie County, and happy that you have decided to run to be an applicant. We will go right into the questioning, and I will start by asking you this. Please take a few minutes and give us a thumbnail sketch of your professional experiences, your beliefs regarding public school education, and why you are interested in being the next superintendent of St. Lucie County.
Okay. My beliefs about public school education are really that it holds the key for our country. Public schools have been around for a long time, and it's probably the best system in the world in spite of some of the flaws that it has. I've always been committed to students, to boys and girls, and the high schoolers don't want to be called boys and girls, and to the young folks, and I've always had a passion. I started my career in Miami for 1 year, and then I was in Okeechobee. A lot of folks don't know that. I was in Okeechobee and then came to St. Lucie County as a teacher, social studies teacher. Jacob Gallman, Mr. Gallman hired me, and I was the head basketball coach at Fort Pierce Central for 5 years, and then Mr. Gallman moved me up. Well, I guess the board approved the move to assistant principal, and I served there for 3 years. And then I went with my friend who's in the back here, Charlie Kumo, to Port St. Lucie High School, and from there was appointed superintendent of Forest Grove, Open Forest Grove, which was a fantastic opportunity, and spent 2 years there, and then was asked to go to Westwood High School from 93 to 96, and served at Westwood, and real proud of what we've accomplished at all those school centers. Then the state was appointed to the position of principal in residence for the state of Florida, and did that for 1 year. Frank Brogan was the commissioner at the time, and it was really a result of some of the positive things that we had done at Westwood High School. Back then it was called Tech Prep, it's career programming, those kinds of things, and had a great program going there, and one was recognized for national awards. And I came back and opened St. Lucie West Middle School, and was there for 2 years, and then an opportunity opened up in Palm Beach County, and I've served in Palm Beach County as an area superintendent, as the assistant superintendent for curriculum. I had 2 years as a principal at Dwyer High School, and again as an area superintendent, and then interim superintendent, and for the last 3 years, superintendent of schools in Palm Beach County.
Great. And why are you interested in being superintendent of St. Lucie County?
St. Lucie County is a very special place because this is where I spent my early years, and I've just explained the different roles that I was in. And Palm Beach County is a fantastic school district, very innovative, as is St. Lucie County. We have the highest graduation rate right now of the urban districts. We always compare ourselves to the urbans, and we've been really the top performer of the urbans for many, many years. That's not to say we're perfect. We just recently passed a referendum with 79% of the vote on a $250,000 renewal. Our schools with our high school grades that came back exceeded the state average, and again was one of the top in the urbans, and it's just been a lot of good things, and it just felt like at this point in my career was ready for a different opportunity and wanted to explore other opportunities. When I saw that this position was open, it was very intriguing because I had spent this many years here, and as I've mentioned before, this is a position of service. I see this as a administrators, teachers, whatever role we are, we're really here to serve. We're really here to serve our students. We're here to serve our teachers. We're here to serve our community. And because of the ties that I've had here and how just special memories are here, I know it may sound somewhat corny, but it really represents the truth. I'll always be authentic. I'll always try to tell it like it is. And I just felt like this would be a wonderful opportunity. There's when I left here, there were great things that were going on, that I was able to go into Palm Beach County, and you would think at a large district, well, maybe they're way ahead of you, but, the only difference in the two counties is really the size, the challenges, the challenges that we face, the things that our children bring to school, the Florida accountability system, all of them are really the same. And I just feel like I've got great experiences from the past and have been successful, and would like the opportunity to come to this county and to serve.
Thank you, Mr. Gent. We open up the floor for any questions from the board.
Mr. Gent, how would you plan to close the achievement gap? For example, what strategies would you employ to improve the academic performance of the African American males, the subgroup that has traditionally had the lowest academic performance in our district?
Great question, and I appreciate it, Mr. Ingersoll. Cut me off when you're ready to cut me off, but I think it starts first off with the culture. It starts out with the district culture that's modeled from from the board and the superintendent, and then to our school centers. One of the things, and I know that you believe that because in the 2 schools that I saw today, you could see that evidence with some of the programs that were going on there. But it really comes about the culture of a school, and what are we really there for, and are we there to meet the needs? Many of our young people that come into our schools, a lot of them do not have parents that'll run interference for them. A lot of parents know how to run interference, and what I mean by that is they know how to check online for grades and have teacher appointments, those kinds of things. But many of our students do not have that. And so it's important that that's offered at our school centers, that there's somebody there, that there's an advocate for every child in that school. And then when you start with that culture, and then you also have top-level leadership in the principalship and in the administration where they develop the culture, and that's what it's about, I believe it starts there. There has to be a heavy emphasis on pre-K, preschool. You would think that our legislatures would get that sooner or later, that if you start at that level, then some of the problems that you have later on are going to be dissipated or not existent at all. And so a heavy emphasis on preschool. In Palm Beach County, our preschool programs, we've expanded that. When I was the assistant superintendent for curriculum, was able to establish an early childhood department and work closely with the Children's Services Council as well as with other agencies. And usually those students that you were dealing with were your students at risk and most at risk. So it starts there, and then at the elementary level, where you have your programs, your positive behavior support, your RTIs, and I know that you have some of those good programs here, and you just recently, I think, received an audit on that of some positive findings. And you're utilizing that in the data. You go into the middle schools, you've got, I know you have AVID program here. You need to have your extracurricular activities at the high school level as well. And then to be specific, some of the programs that I've implemented in Palm Beach County, we have the Superintendent's Task Force, which is a Superintendent's Task Force for graduation for African American males and a reduction in suspension. And what that task force is, it's made up of members of the community and members of the school district. And there's 11 subcommittees right now, and they'll develop an action plan. They each have an action plan, and one of the areas could be discipline. One of the areas could be student attendance. One of the areas that we have is the criminal justice system, and hopefully there'll be a follow-up question later on. We have a great partnership with our criminal justice system, with our juvenile justice department, as well as with the judges themselves. And we've got great statistics that have showed a reduction in the arrest of we're not talking about we want our schools to be safe, but there's sometimes when there can be diversion programs that are put in place for our students, and the statistics show that the majority of the students are children of color, and some students that may not have that advocate or that person at home to help them. And so we've tried to accomplish that within the school center with these partnerships where some of the diversions can either be a youth court, it was referred back to the administrator, and things are handled at that level. Data analysis is very important, that you monitor, you look at the programs that are coming in, and give an example of title programs, supplemental programs. What we're looking at right now is a switch from compliance to performance. We can all check things off, but we need to be able to we're doing an audit of all of our supplemental programs to see what the values we're getting on them, what's the data show, and that has a direct correlation to the achievement of those students. And one thing I want to throw in there too that I'm very proud of, I mentioned this at our board meeting last night. We, in the past, the students that would want to go to schools, particularly the historically black colleges and universities and Spanish institutions, the students would have to take field trips, or they may go with the school and go up to Bethune-Cookman or go down to Florida Memorial or wherever Spelman College, wherever it is. We were able to bring those schools of the higher learning schools and colleges to Palm Beach County. So 2 years ago, we brought them in. I think we had, I'm not sure it was less than 20, but a nice number. 600 students from our schools went over there, seniors, and of the 600 that were there, $600 or $600,000 in academic scholarships were offered at that time. This past year, pretty much mandated that all the schools would participate in that. We had 1,200 seniors go over there, so we doubled the numbers, and over $2.6 million in academic scholarships were offered to the students. And then they go home and they get and then visit the school later on. Some of them had acceptance letters from more than one college. So children that woke up that morning in bed not really knowing what their future would hold for them, went home that evening and could talk to their parents about, look, I've just been offered a scholarship. And that's something that I think, if I was fortunate enough to serve in this position, that maybe we could partner with and bring that here, not only to St. Lucie County, but maybe to the Treasure Coast in general with the surrounding counties, because that probably has had a huge it's just a fantastic program. Another program that we do is we've had a leadership academy for a single gender for male students that we started at 6th grade, now at 7th grade. We hope to go from 6th, 7th up until the 12th grade. So we've got, and I don't want to ramble on, but we've got several programs in place. The thing I'm most proud of is our data. We have the highest graduation rate, as I mentioned, but with our children of color and African American and Haitian American students, as well as our Hispanic students, the bar has continued to go up. And congratulations and kudos to St. Lucie County as well, because I know your graduation rates this year in your schools, almost all of the high schools, there was an increase in that. But with my African American males, I had a 5.5% increase in our graduation rate, and it's something that we're very proud of, and I think it's a direct relation to those programs that I've mentioned and others as well. But it starts with the culture of the school and the culture of the district.
Speaking about culture, how would you get to know all the diverse stakeholders within our community? And Dr. Mills also likes to tack on to this, letting them know a little bit more about it.
Well, as I was listening to your response, you covered most of it. Without even asking.
Finished?
But
I'm finished?
No, you're not finished. Just on this question. No, not even this question, because I wanted to ask more about this Leadership Academy that you said was for all males. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, it's a leadership academy it's a single gender for students. There's a STEM component. There's also an Afrocentric component within the curriculum. We have it housed at Roosevelt Middle School right now. One of the challenges that we'll face is when the students, when the program continues to grow, but you go 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th on, to find a facility for that. But it represents a great opportunity for our students with a unique curriculum, and so far it's been a great success.
How long have you had it in operation?
This is our second year. This is the second year.
Okay. And this is from what grades?
6th through 12th. We're in 6th and 7th grade right now.
6th and 7th grade right now.
Yeah, the middle school level, and we'll eventually go to the high school level. Mr. Ingersoll, the question you asked about, one of the things that I think I do very, very well, and I don't like to talk about myself, but I guess you have to do that in interviews such as this, is my community and community involvement.
That's where I wanted to go with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we have the largest geographic county east of the Mississippi. And it goes, and you're familiar with it, from Jupiter to Boca, out into the Glades areas. And I spend a tremendous amount of time. We have 41 municipalities. If not, I'm close. And so I spend a lot of time working with the municipalities, working with the commissioners or the mayors. If I'm not there, staff members from the areas will be involved in their educational advisory groups. The chamber's very actively involved with the chambers. Each year I give a state of the union, the state of the district address to the Palm Beach Chamber at the beginning of the year. We work in faith-based in the churches and go in. I've had the opportunity to speak to congregations. I've never been able to, when the offering plate's been passed, I've never been able to, I say that because of your dad, but so I'm very visible in the community. And when you looked at my references, two of the references that I listed was Kelly Smallridge, who's the head of the Business Development Board, because I understand the impact that the education has on the economic development, as well as Danny Martell, who's the CEO of the Economic Council. Other folks that are under, we work closely with our colleges and universities, so it's an area that I think is a strength.
Questions?
All right. Okay. This is a two-part question.
Okay.
All right. Based on your knowledge of St. Lucie County, what expectations of yours would be non-negotiable? Do you want to answer that first?
Student achievement, closing a gap.
Good answer.
That is a good answer.
What elements would you enable your school leaders to interpret to meet their unique needs and circumstances?
I think that the superintendent has to offer support to the school centers. Each school, no matter if I've got schools that are literally 2 blocks apart, but they each have their own unique culture, even though the students may come from the same community. And so the schools are like their own little town or their own little city. And it's important that teachers, there's research that will show that teachers in school centers, even though pay is important, what they look for, the two underlying factors is strong leadership and a cohesive staff. And that all ties into the culture piece of the school. When I talk about the culture, I talk about academic behaviors and then the climate. And the climate is, what it feels like here, and the culture is how we do things here. And then you empower you empower your principals. You give them the tools that are needed to empower them they are the leader of that school. And to whatever the mandates are that come down from Tallahassee, of which, and maybe we'll get there later on, our teachers in school centers are under tremendous stress. The public education system in Florida is under tremendous stress, and I believe that the state is moving too fast with our entire accountability system. I'm for accountability, I'm for rigor, I'm for the Florida standards, where we teach kids to problem solve and to think and to be able to debate answers and to give the rationale. That's all fine, but we've got to give our teachers and our principals the tools, and this is really about professional development, talent management, to make them successful. I've used this analogy earlier today. I have a 8th grade son who plays the drums. If he were to do a Christmas concert and I were to say, okay, go play the trumpet, and he would be horrible because he can't play the trumpet, and then we beat him up because he couldn't play the trumpet. We have to make sure that we, at the district level, I think, is to offer the tools for the principals and the teachers to be successful. Here are the goals, or here are the standards. Use the methods that you need that work best in your individual school, and that's done through collaboration where the teachers are engaged, they problem solve, and they get the support from the principal. It will work in those schools no matter whether it's a title school at 99% free and reduced lunch or a school where the students come from gated communities. That's what's needed.
Can I just, one quick question, because you hit on a little bit of the politics in Florida. Just quickly, the difference between elected superintendents and appointed superintendents you're feeling, because obviously in St. Lucie County we use the appointment, not the elected.
Today I'm for appointed. And I have a sense of humor, I have to tell you that. I do use humor because this is a tough job. I think there's pros and cons of both. I've seen both. I think the majority of the state, I know that the majority of the state is appointed. With an appointed superintendent, you're appointed by the board, just like yourself, and you establish goals together, like we talked about a little earlier, where you have your vision and your goals and strong belief systems, and that we develop the vision and our policies come from that. And that the board members themselves are accountable to the public. You have your constituents, and so you work together. And then the collective board, the 5 members or the 7 members in my case right now, then I answer to them. In an elected position, you're elected by the voters at large. That could be a good thing, or if someone doesn't have the experiences in education, let's say, or somebody doesn't have experiences in leadership, it just takes, you can just be 18 and a registered voter and a strong voting bloc, you could be in that position. So, but on the other side of it, if you do have the skills and experiences to run for an elected position, and let's say you're an educator or a leader where you've proven yourself in large organizations, then you answer directly to the public. So I think that I could make a case either way. I think the appointed system really is what's in the country, because then you can control, the board can control who comes into that to best meet the needs of that individual school district.
What is your commitment to developing leaders?
It's one of my highest commitments next to student achievement. We've got an extensive program of leadership development that we've tried to do some change in Palm Beach County. We've done 2 book studies, and I stress leadership development at all of our meetings. Everybody wins when the leader gets better. Nobody loses. And if the superintendent or the principals or district staff, if we don't continually try to strive to improve, then we cheat the organization. And if we're cheating the organization, we're cheating boys and girls. So my expectation is that there's growth. We did book studies. I'm a big fan of John Maxwell. John Maxwell is a well-known author. I've had an opportunity to hear him speak and was even able to bring him to our county to speak to our principals, which was a coup. It took me about 6 years to pull it off, our principals and assistant principals. And he wrote a book, The 5 Levels of Leadership. And it's a book that we did a book study on. Every new principal that comes into the district, I hand them that book, and I talk about the 5 levels of that, and so that we can, as Covey says, to sharpen your own saw. I expect our leaders to continue to grow. They get paid for their growth. They get paid for their problem solving and their decision making as much as anything else that goes on. So there's a heavy, heavy emphasis on that, where excellence is expected in that area, and that we strive to continually get better. And that book is one way. We did another book study the following year, another book that he had about the 21 laws of leadership, and he spoke on that one. And so, and then you take that and you apply it to your own self, and if given the opportunity here, that would be something that would be a heavy emphasis on with the principals and the district staff. Our board members as well. I give the board members a copy of the book, and they've come to the presentations, are welcome to come in and listen to that. But it's a heavy emphasis on that because of so much that's coming down. The teachers, the principals and leaders have to offer hope, and they have to be inspirational. With everything that's coming down from Tallahassee and from the federal government, it's very complex, and what we try to do is maybe make it a little more simpler for our school centers, but it can't be done without positive leadership, knowing the culture of the school, knowing your individual teachers, who needs to be handled this way and that way, that ultimately affect your students, and it builds on what happens to our students as they go through the system. So it's a big deal, and it's something that's one of my highest priorities. I have four priorities, and they're not in any particular order, but talent management and leadership development is at the top.
What's the other two?
First one is
We
teaching.
know the first one.
First one is teaching and learning, student achievement. After that comes safe schools, not in any particular order. You have the safe schools and the programs that I mentioned a few moments ago. After that is community involvement, community engagement, and customer service.
Thank you. Ms. Hawley?
Yes. Mr. Gent, what internal communication plan do you see as necessary, not only to ensure a school district moves forward with fresh and innovative ideas, but also to ensure that employees have a satisfying work environment? And just to reiterate, the key word there is the internal communication plan.
You're talking about internal from the district to the school centers, or board superintendent communications, or
all of the above? All
of the above. I think one of the most important things is really and I'm not going to put them in any particular order, but the board superintendent communications is crucial. If afforded the opportunity, would talk to you each individual about how do you prefer that? Do you prefer a daily phone call? Do you prefer an email? Do you prefer a text? Weekly meetings. One of the things I do now is 4 of my board members, I'll meet with them weekly before the board meetings, and we'll discuss whatever issues they have. We also have a mechanism in place where with the agenda, whatever's on the agenda, you have board docs, correct? Okay, we have board docs as well, which is a great program. And they'll look at that and ask questions, and then that will go to someone within the organization, whether it's operations or academic side, and then that answer will go back to all of the board members before the meeting. That item still may or may not be pulled for further discussion at whatever the pleasure of that individual board member is. But that communication is crucial with the board. If we're going to share the same values and the same goals, it's important that we have that. That at the school level, then I meet with. We're huge. We're very, very large, and so we meet once a month with my principals. We have what's called a CAO meeting, and then what's called an ANS, administrators and supervisors. So in the morning it's an academic piece, and then in the afternoon we'll bring in the other departments, and we'll share information. A lot of times it's just dominated by academics, which is the way it should be. And I don't want to pull them out of school just to pull them out of school. I want to pull them out of school to give them training and development, or something that they're going to need that they can take back. I also meet with my principal groups. There's a leadership group. There's an association. I will talk to them. I have a great rapport with our bargaining groups, our SEIU, our CTA. I meet with them. The CTA meet bi-weekly to talk about whatever issues or concerns they have. And I do that myself. Sometimes they'll go on and meet with other members of my cabinet or my team, but I always think it's important that they're communicating with me as well. I visit schools. I'm out in the community hearing what folks have to say and just trying to listen. More than talk, but to listen and hear what's happening. So I think with an organization as large as we are, the communication is so important, because if it's not there and you get the misinformation, and there's enough of that comes out every day, I think make sure we utilize our text, we utilize our emails, and emergencies. We have a system in place as well, and checklist that goes on.
As following up on that, what have you utilized in your history in education that provides for meaningful employee recognition?
I think just like with our school our school positive behavior support programs, people want to be recognized for what they do. And I'm glad you asked the question. At our principal meetings, when we meet in the afternoon, the A&S, probably the first 10 to 20 to 30 minutes, it's about recognition. I'll recognize schools, whether a student has won a national or a state award, or the school has done this or that, or the governor's visited that school. Whatever it can be, I think recognition is important, that we have to show value to the employees, show value to our teachers as well as to our administrators. So I spend and I have a lot of fun with that as well. I put their pictures up. We'll talk about the award that they've won. We congratulate them, and I think that's crucial. I think that folks need to be recognized. Sometimes you can't always do it monetarily. We know that our budgets are fixed and are tight based upon what we get from Tallahassee, but there are other mechanisms that you can utilize to show employee appreciation, and I'm a big advocate of that.
Well, you covered a lot of ground.
Yes, you did.
So that's the official set of questions. And of course, you're not done because there'll be an unofficial set of
Okay.
questions, I'm sure. But is there anything that you would like for us to know that we could not have found out about you and your focus from our reading or from our lunch or from just the other research we've done?
I'm here in this chair today because I want to be. I'm not retiring. I know I have my friend from the Post here. I have a lot of years to offer. I have my own children at home, and I have other nieces. I have a granddaughter coming up, and I'm committed to public education, and I'm committed to serving communities, serving schools, and the general community as a whole. And it's been something that I've done on my entire life. I can't imagine what life's going to be like without doing that. And St. Lucie County is the place that I want to be. I'm authentic. I try to be who I am. A lot of times people can paint you through articles or press that really doesn't represent who you are as a person. But as long as I know, and those that work closest with me, I have tremendous support from my principals in Palm Beach County. They know what I represent and what I stand for. The teachers, I try to visit and talk to them. Those that have worked for me know that. Those that have worked for me, or with me, not really for me, but with me here in St. Lucie County in the different capacities, know the person that I am, know what I'm about, know that I'm about children, teaching and learning, student achievement, and enhancing our community.
Thank you.
As, okay, I'll put it this way. As it relates to our children, how would you work with the business community leaders here on economic development?
I'm glad you asked the question. The two of my references are from the Economic Council and the Business Development Board. I work very closely with them. I don't have a middle person. Sometimes somebody may have to go in my place, but normally I'm at those meetings, as well as with the local chambers. And I recognize that to bring industry in, the first question that's going to be asked is, how are your schools? What kind of school system do you have? And so what we've done is develop a marketing and a branding of our schools in Palm Beach County, not just the public schools, but the private schools and the charter schools, working with the Business Development Board. My focus on that, and we pretty much put the infrastructure in place with the online through the school district because we had the capacity to do that. So when companies will come in, they're able to pull up the school, they're able to look at the points of pride of the school, they're able to look at the school grades, whatever it is, it is what it's an open book. I also make myself available. They've got my personal cell number that if somebody comes in and they say, okay, we're going to be in Boca tomorrow, this company, can you come down and join them? Or can we visit this school? Can we go through Boca High School? Or can we go to Palm Beach Lakes High School? Our principals know that the answer is yes. We'll stop what we're doing and invite you in to do the tour. We have career academies in our county, and it's something that we're very proud of. And I knew that, and St. Lucie County as well has the different attractors and magnet programs. And what I try to do is we invite the folks into our school centers to make sure that whatever the industry is, whatever the emerging trends are, that in our programs that we're making sure that the curriculum itself is aligned to that. And so we welcome those partnerships. Again, it's a strong partnership that I have with the business community. One of the other things that we did just recently, myself, the new president, John Edwards at FAU, President Gallen at Palm Beach State University, as well as our key business leaders, we took a trip up to North Carolina to Raleigh, the Raleigh-Durham area and Chapel Hill and the research triangle that was there. And so my piece was K-12, and where we did a panel discussion and talked about what we have, and then the other business and industries were there as well to talk about how do you bring in entrepreneurs to your community, or how do you develop a research park. I know that here that you have the different biotech companies that are here. I think it's the gene and
VGTI and
the gene and vaccine
Torrey Pines.
Organization. You have Torrey Pines. They're very similar to what we have, where we try to prepare our teacher. We use internships and externships where our teachers are there. Or we're not only that, but with the colleges as well. We have partnerships. STEM. and STEAM with the arts in it. That's a big push all across the state or all across the country. We have great partnerships with the University of Florida as well, where I have teachers that are getting their master's degree for free based upon partnerships that we form. I could go on and on with that. Those folks as well, contact them because there's no turf. We all know that if the community economic vitality in the community raises the standard of living for everyone in that community. And I believe that it's important that the schools partner with that. I speak to the chambers. We have several chambers down there. I'm always available to speak. And like I said, I speak to anyone that invites me. I enjoy coming out and talking to them and sharing what we have and then try to form partnerships, strengthen existing partnerships, and build new ones.
Board members, questions? We have
Chair.
plenty of time.
Talk a little bit about what you could bring to St. Lucie for recruitment and retention, since nationwide we do have a shortage of teachers. Anything specific that you feel like is innovative that you have brought to Palm Beach County?
It represents a challenge. It was one of the questions that was asked to me when I was at the two schools today. In fact, it was asked at both schools by the teachers themselves, and they were talking about some vacancies that are that are out right now. I think one of the things that your HR department has to do is to go out, is to develop relationships and partnerships with the colleges. Whether it's FAU or the University of Florida or Florida State or Bethune-Cookman, whichever college it is, that you have that relationship to try to attract, and then you have to sometimes go there and recruit them. We utilize a lot of Skyping online, where as opposed to a teacher coming in, you can Skype them and do an interview. I've done those for high-level positions as well. It continues to be a challenge, but I think that we'll because of budgets, we're able to visit other areas that we've been able to be successful in the past. One of the things I think is important is to look at trends within the district itself. If there's however many positions that are open, is that a pattern over the last couple of years, or is that something that's unique to that particular year? Is it a certain school that's happening in? To really break it down, look at some of the leading indicators as to what's occurring there. But it's something that we struggle with, particularly at the middle of the year. Teachers, it just seems like your most important teacher sometimes, have to go on some a leave for whatever reason, or somebody decides to go, and it hurts our students, it hurts our children. We have a good Palm Beach Atlantic University, Florida Atlantic University, the college there. They bring out a good group of students. Another thing is to grow your own. You grow your own students with programs. And I'm not sure if it's in St. Lucie. I know it used to be, where what we'll do is in our teacher academy programs is offer the students, here's you've got a position when you come back. And
we do promises of promise.
And then try to get them to come back, as opposed to going somewhere else, because when they get away to school, there may be another interest for whatever reason. But it represents a challenge, and it's something that the HR department, has to be on, and working with strategies and working with the institutions directly on a personal level.
Yeah, Madam Chair. A couple of questions, and one of which has not been asked of any of the other candidates because it didn't necessarily apply. But it certainly would with you. And this board is committed to St. Lucie County, certainly. And one of the things that we have named as a non-negotiable for us is that our superintendent live in St. Lucie County. So that would be a change for you. Have you thought about that, the implications, that may mean to your family, that sort of thing, because it's important to us. And along those lines, what are your thoughts on employees and district staff that perhaps work here but have their children in private schools or charter schools or schools outside the county?
The first question, I'd be happy to, it's really not an issue. I'd be happy to work with the board on that. If that's something that's important to the board, that's not a barrier at all. As far as employees and staff members that have their children in private schools, I believe in choice. I believe that folks should have a choice, that there may be a certain, I'd love to have them all in the public schools, but there may be unique circumstances or for whatever reasons that the parents feel like that this is where they need to be. I think that should be a decision that is really made at the family level. The majority of, it's something that I just think that's a personal decision that they make in their child's best interest. We hope it's in the public schools that they're working in.
Okay, and then another question, totally unrelated, but frequently we are asked what our expectation is of the superintendent. And it's really very simple. We expect 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. So in the
That's
midst of that, where do you find balance in your life? How do you bring balance to your work and professional life?
I'm a dad, I'm a husband. I'm a husband first and a dad second, and that's my priority. My faith is important, and then this is important as a job. One of the things as superintendent in Palm Beach County, I don't bother staff on weekends or after hours unless there's a storm coming, and we've all had those experiences, or some type of an emergency that warrants that, because there has to be that balance. And so I try to model that. I coach youth league basketball. I've been coaching it for years, and had some good seasons and some rough ones. And people say, where do you find the time? It's important for me to model to my children and my boys that no matter, there's nothing more important than the family structure, and to spend that time with them. I've got my wife with me here today, so she could see the organization and see and meet you all and meet the staff members as well. So that's important to me, and it's really the priority in my life, and in a good place, and very happy with that. But I balance that out well, and my staffs will tell you that as well. In fact, one of our board members, they're in the process of superintendent search, and I think she called it was an interesting term. She comes from the wellness program that it included in a job description that there was a balance there, and complimented me on that and how I work with our staff.
Thank you.
What is your strategic plan to raise grades and the graduation rates?
Well, I think I alluded to it earlier on, but the strategic plan is really, I want to get in and look at the data, if fortunate enough to serve in this capacity, and to look at the trends and to see how we're performing. I know that you use Performance Matters. Data analysis is something I think that's very important. One thing I like about data is it takes the emotion out of it. It tells you where we are, and then whatever it says. Okay, what are our steps? What are our action plan to address that? You can break it down at the school level. You can break it down at the district level. I know you have the different zones. One of the things that we do and that I do is that we look at itself and we compare the data to schools that look like us. If I'm a principal, I compare it to the standard, whatever the standard is from the state, and then compare it to others that look like us, and then compare it to ourselves. And because you may find two schools that have the same population, and one school is thriving and one school is not, and you have to go, okay, what's the root cause of that? And then you go in there and then try to come in, not to hammer them, not to sanction them, but to come in there and offer the quality support to get the teachers where they need to be. Maybe it's the administration, whatever that's needed. But you have to constantly monitor data, as well as, and is just important, is paying attention to the total child, the total emotional well-being of the child, as I mentioned at the very beginning. And then I lead those. We have monitoring meetings weekly. We just did data chats for our DA schools, where the principals will come in and show what their performance has been on our diagnostic test that kind of measures what the standards that you've done well on and where you need to improve on. And I'll have those meetings, and I'll run those meetings, and the principals will present. And it's not to nail the principal; it's to see, okay, how are you doing, and then what support do you need from us? I'll have my transportation director there. I'll have operations there. I'll have HR at the table. Is there a problem with hiring teachers? Is there a problem with the buses on time? Do you have an air conditioning that's not working? Those are like what we call red tag schools, where they get priority service. So I stay actively involved in that, and weekly monitoring at the district level, of monitoring the data, monitoring suspension rates, all of those kinds of things, leaving no stone unturned to make sure that you can offer support back to the school center.
One thing that you know of us is that we're very focused and we're pretty consistent, and as you know, we're significantly assertive. I think that's fair. But our pledge to you is that if you come and join us, that we will be a team. We will stay focused. We will be willing to hear things we don't like, just as you will be willing to hear things we tell you that you would rather not hear. That we know where all the minefields are in the county, And our job is to be the liaison, to help you avoid any minefields, to build bridges, and help you build relationships every place that you need to be. And we are dogmatic about that. We think that we are often on the bleeding edge, and we are very willing to stay there when we know it's the right thing to do for our kids. So that's our pledge to you, and as you know, we will be expecting a great deal from you.
Well, my pledge to you is to be who I am, to be authentic. I think that the team, it's important that this is a team and a team effort and a leadership team, and that we work very close together, that communication is crucial in that, and that if there are, disagreements or differences, it's okay. I tell my staff all the time, and our principals, and the board doesn't hesitate, you have permission to tell me what I don't want to hear. That's fine, because that's how the organization grows. And then, so whatever issue is, whatever the incident is, whatever at that moment in time, that you've got that collaborative relationship. It's just what I talked about in the schools. The culture, you want to develop a single school culture, but what I've tried to develop as well as a single district culture. And that really has to be modeled from the dais and the interactions with the board and the superintendent. And it can, like the board, one of the things that's attractive, this is a very experienced board and an effective board. I don't mean that in age-wise, it's the experience being on the board, and it has a reputation across the state as being a strong board as well. I'm fortunate to work with a good board in Palm Beach County as well, and it's 7 board members. It's a large school district, and we work hard, and our end goal is student achievement, student performance, to help our kids to have a better life.
Mr. Gent, I have a 2-part question here. One is regarding early learning. What's your perspective on that, and how would you address that? Early learning meaning children before the traditional age 5 kindergarten type thing. And the second part is a question that Ms. Hilson asked to the other applicant, which was very important, about our ESE students and students with disability. What's your perspective, and how would you address those
Okay,
issues?
let's start with early learning. As I mentioned earlier, was established an early learning department at our school. I know that it starts there. It starts at pre-K. We were able to expand our programs. We work closely with the Children's Service Council as well as other agencies. We're able to do trainings for different groups out there and different providers that are in the community that are important. The Head Start, I know that we were able to take on some more Head Start programs this past year, and the curriculums that they're used. I think what's important there is that we get access. We put our pre-K programs in our school centers that need those the most. It's usually title schools, where as one of our board members say, kids don't come to school with the blessings maybe that some of other students have, and so it's just common sense dictates that it starts there. And as far as exceptional education and the other programs, these are all of our children. They're our children in our school centers. And we need to make sure that we have the programs in place for all of them. We've got a great ESE department. There's a strong, when I was here, and I know it's still true, that you have a strong ESE department in St. Lucie County as we have in Palm Beach County. And, that create their own unique challenges in themselves and make sure that we've got the resources available. But they're all of our children. And, whether I'm in a gifted program or I'm struggling in alternative ed, they're still our children that we've got to do the best job we can for.
Any more questions, board? Okay, then I will end with the last question, and that is, what is it that you need from us to help you be effective? And we'll end with that question. What do you need from us as a board?
Trust. Trust and a team. We're a team, a cohesive team that operates on trust, and I think it really comes down to that simple, that you work together as a team. We value each other, we respect each other. Our goal is the same goal, and that's to benefit our students, no matter what level they're in this district, to prepare them whether to go to college or career, but that we work as a cohesive team.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gent. Excellent interview, and we appreciate you being interested in being the next superintendent for St. Lucie County.
And I just want to say that I think this was a great process, and I appreciate it, and I thank you for the opportunity. I do want to be your next superintendent. I think I've articulated why, but it's a very special place to me, and I think it would be a great opportunity, and I know there's many challenges that we could meet together to benefit, and it's just represents a great opportunity, and I look forward to seeing you again. I walked into a school today, and they said, "Do you have a badge?" And I go, "No, but I hope to get one." So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.